Out of all of dragonkind, there are perhaps two famous factions among them, and this is the rivalry between the chromatics and the metallic dragons, as they represent two sides of the same coin. But there is a third faction that remains neutral. And this is not a standing on the side waiting to see what happens neutral, no. This is a stand-your-ground militant neutrality. And this group is known as the Gemstone Dragons. A strange group of dragons that have little known about them other than their powerful psionic abilities and their much smaller numbers compared to the likes of other dragons. But something that is commonly known about them is which is the strongest of their kind, and their figurehead for their group, and that is the Amethyst dragon. They are known for being explorers of the realms, not just our material realm we inhabit, but all of those outside as well, from the knowledgeable elemental planes to the madness of the far realm. Some even view them as the gatekeepers and protectors that keep those monsters of the far realm at bay. See, as much as they love to explore and view the world and its wonders, they do not like abominations and aberrations that try to invade this world. But unlike the Golds that do this out of love for people and the worlds that they inhabit, Amethysts view this as a necessity to save the universe as a whole, not the inhabitants within it. It's not that they don't like the likes of humanoids, or that they are very callous in any regard. It's more so that they understand that we rise and fall over time, but as long as life continues, that is what matters. As long as there is still wonders and beauty, the world is good. The specific members are not important. As long as there are still births, there is a beauty in that. Another thing they are known for is their control and manipulation of gravity. This is probably one of the main reasons they are regarded as so powerful, because there is a lot you can do when you can control gravity on a whim. Any encounter can be manipulated if you can suddenly fling things against a wall. Oh, also, how they fly is quite fascinating too. See, they don't flap their wings and use physical force to fly like other dragons. Instead, they levitate and hover above the ground. This has many advantages and disadvantages, but it is definitely a sight to be seen. A dragon with hovering wings that aren't actually attached to their body. That actually raises a lot of confusion, as does their general anatomy, so I'm going to go into it now. See, something quite a lot of people wonder when they see a gemstone dragon is their body actually made of the gemstone of their namesake? And the short answer is yes, though it might be quite hard to tell when they are younger, due to the fact that their body almost resembles scales like other dragons. They are in fact made of their gemstones, and it does become a lot more clear when they are older, as they sort of merge into one material. And when they are younger, they start off very much more opaque and get more vibrant as they age. Another interesting fact about their bodies, most don't really have horns or frills in any way, but gems that levitate around them, and they can take on all sorts of shapes and patterns too. Some might even resemble horns in a strange way, and amethysts tend to have them in a line across their back, but you can find all sorts of them with many different varieties to this, and they can even regrow them over time too. It takes quite a long time, so it's not going to be something they commonly do in order to make money, but it is something that they view as a lovely gift to give to someone, and very stylistically nice. Their hordes are quite unsurprising in a few regards, but it is no surprise that they love gems of their namesake, that being amethysts, and they love them in all forms, but when it comes to the like of other gemstones, they prefer uncut gems, natural ones rather than smoother, nicer ones. Other than coins, they're not too fond of many metals either, other than the exception of silver, a metal that they absolutely love and keep in many forms. They love having things engraved in silver, and some might do it themselves as they care for it that much. They do this with the likes of books and fanciful works of art. Many have added a silver case to a book or a tome, or perhaps a silvered frame to a piece of art. They also love hoarding magical objects, and because of how much they travel, they can have all sorts and types, as well as all qualities and varieties. From the more powerful ones that can cast high-level spells, to the more mundane ones like capes that blow in the wind more. But they also have a special love for magical items that can help transport them to other planes of existence, and they adore sentient items, regardless of if they can actually communicate with words. While Amethyst dragons can be found anywhere, on any plane of existence, when it comes to the like of where they lair, they can be very picky in this regard, and are very specific in what they like. See, they have a few loves, but a requirement in this regard is they need to be near a water source. That is where they pick their lair. While I say water source, due to how often they travel and how bizarre some realms are, breaking the natural laws of reality, they can be found in some crazy places. So, they would settle for any liquid that is akin to water, but they must be near the source of it. But they have a massive love and a lot of favoritism towards waterfalls. They adore building their lairs behind waterfalls, as they are both secretive and beautiful. In fact, out of all wonders they see in the universe, they commonly state that they find waterfalls to be some of the most wonderful sights to behold. And I can see why. But out of all types of dragons, they probably spend the least amount of time in their own lairs. While they can still be found resting atop their hordes like most dragons, they tend to be a lot more active in many regards. But there are still the classic telltale signs that one is lairing nearby, as like most dragons, they affect the region around them. Unlike most dragons, it's not magic that affects this realm, but psionics, which act very similar to magic, but aren't magic. As a wizard, I don't quite understand it, but for a good rule of thumb, anything magic can do, it does slightly differently. Alright, but these effects might be a bit more bizarre than most other dragons. See, they mostly help them gain information, as well as make the land look more like them. For an example, if someone were to enter a mile of the dragon's lair, the dragon can know any fact about you. Just like that. Guaranteed. They can only do this about once a day, and the information might not be the most useful, but it is a very good way to tell what type of being is near your home, something that is very useful when you're out and about. Also, amethyst gems start sprouting naturally, randomly, through the ground. They tend to do this near water, usually on the sides of lakes, or perhaps the beach if they live on the coast, where the land meets the water, really. But you can often find people searching lakes near an amethyst dragon's lair, akin to gold hunters. Fish also tend to thrive within their domain for some reason. Their numbers increase massively, as does their size, and they even taste better. This is absolutely lovely, as both myself and amethyst dragons absolutely adore fish, and they hunt them commonly. Oh, they can also look through the water of their domain, just naturally with their psionic presence, both under and on top of the surface, so if they're really worried about their domain, or just want to hunt a particularly nice piece of fish, they can look through the water itself. But I think I now need to get into a sadder and darker aspect of their life. See, dragon hunters are a common thing, though most unsuccessful, a lot of foolish people try regardless. And gemstone dragons are the most sought after by them for a very simple reason. Their bodies are worth so much compared to the others. While metallics are made of pure, valuable metals, and the chromatics have some of the strongest bodies you can find, gemstones just have pure value, and when harvesting a gemstone dragon, they don't explode in your face like harvesting a red dragon might. It is for this reason that they can be very standoffish with a lot of humanoid races. Humans specifically, as we have a lot of hunters amongst our numbers. So they might just attack you outright because of it. And honestly, I don't blame them. So I should prepare you in case you fight them. For a start, their breath weapon is quite unique, as it manipulates gravity, and it is known as a singularity breath. What they do is they shoot a force of energy that forces those to the ground around them. This gravitational force alone can kill people with its pure power, but it is mostly used to stop people to make sure they can't move. They also have many powerful psionic attacks that are akin to magic in many regards. In fact, to the untrained eye, it would look like they are casting spells, but this is a powerful manipulation of their own thought, not magic. So keep this in mind, you can't exactly counterspell them when they do their, air quotes, magic. It's a different force of nature altogether. Oh, lastly, something that's very important. They can teleport at will, and do so constantly. This, combined with their ability to hover anywhere without using momentum, unlike other dragons, makes them very hard to pin down. Near impossible, I would state, so make sure that that's not going to be an issue for you. You are not going to pin them into one place. Make sure you can adapt to the dragon moving everywhere. But back to being more friendly with them. Actually, it's quite hard to be friendly with them, as they tend to move on and explore more than any other type of dragon, so they don't really have time to make many personal connections as other dragons do. They still do this, of course, but they will rather be out fighting the creatures of the Far Realm, or hunting long-lost ships that somehow ended up in the plane of water. It's not that they don't like people, it's that they just love exploring. They are natural hunters of the wild, and love to go out everywhere. They don't breed that often either. This is partly responsible for their low numbers, and even then, they barely lay any eggs in a clutch. Most of them only tend to lay one egg, and there's never more than 3 at a single clutch, again resulting in much smaller numbers. But what they do with these eggs seems quite bizarre and not very protective, but 9 times out of 10, they're very safe. See, in short, they bury them deep underground and leave them there, sometimes teleporting their eggs straight underground. Eventually, they will hatch on their own and make their way out, usually by teleporting. Akin to sea turtles with a much better survival rate. This can cause a lot of problems, however, as a lot of miners dig as deep as these amethyst eggs like to be placed, so they can accidentally stumble across an amethyst dragon egg by mistake. And because they look like a large round amethyst, they might not even know what they have found, and might try to break it free, unsuccessfully given how incredibly strong and near unbreakable eggs are in this regard. I have had very few interactions with amethyst dragons, but one I have had was caused by said event. An adult amethyst dragon called Mesvor the Stalwart came to me pleading as her egg had been stolen by a local dwarven baron who secretly mined it from under the earth, and she was unaware that there was a dwarven settlement nearby. The baron's name was Brachus the Grim, a funny and quite pretentious title given that he gave it to himself, but I had heard some horrible things about the dwarf, and knew he was not to be trusted and would do horrible things to the dragon should it hatch, so I agreed to help her. Long story short, the Baron was dethroned and replaced by his son, who turned out to be even worse, but that's a story for a different day. And the egg was safely returned to its mother. As a reward, she gave me one of the gems that used to float over her head. It was vaguely horn-shaped and about as large as my head, actually probably bigger, and I treasure it and keep it above my bookshelf as a lovely display piece. I thought about mounting it on the wall, but it's a little big and a bit bizarre. It sticks out a bit too much in that regard. And in turn, I also use her help every now and again to travel to different planes of existence, as it's, well, a lot cheaper to have a dragon fly you there for free. I want to consider her my friend, but I rarely see her enough to do so. We're very fond of each other, though. Thank you for listening to my tales. I'm the Ashspawn. Feel free to leave a like, comment, or subscribe. It really does mean a lot to me. But, till next we meet, fellow traveller, have a good day.